I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?
Happy Thursday, everybody. I hope everyone's doing well today. Every time it's like each one keeps getting better and better and better. But before we get started, I just want to, hope and, pray that everyone is doing very well. We've had a change in presidency. So, it's not the answer to everything, but maybe we can just breathe a little sigh of relief for a minute. We still got a lot of work to do, though. So a couple of things, just housekeeping stuff. You guys know we have a screening for HAPI, the documentary. A lot of people don't know we actually have a documentary. So it's not just HAPI Talks, which we love. We love doing the HAPI Talks. But the HAPI Talks come from actually the HAPI, the movie, the documentary, which is about 2 hours and 12 minutes long. It's the role of economics in the development of civilization. So we look at we look at the finances, and we just look at how we really developed the first sense of commerce, okay, years and years and years and years ago, and we take it all the way up until current time. So it's really important that you guys support that. So you can go to our hapifilm.com website to get that information right there. And you can also, while you're there, there's lots of things you can do. Now, the screening is February 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I forgot to mention, it's the panel discussion, okay? Because that's what makes it all worthwhile. It's the panel discussion afterwards. So, you've watched this film, you're like, oh my God, so many things going on in your head. It's really cool to then, get a private Zoom link and see some of the cast members actually discuss the film. And sometimes we discuss a little piece of it, and then the conversation just evolves to whatever it's going to be. So it's really, we've had a lot of lively panel discussions, and you only get the panel discussion if you come to one of the screenings. So it's really important to check us out, at an actual screening. So HAPI, February 13th, that's just a couple of weeks, and it's during Black History Month. If you celebrate Black History Month, or if you're like us, we celebrate Black history every single day, 365 days of the year. But February 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Now, after you get your ticket, while you're there, please mosey on to that little part where it says stay connected, and make sure you sign up for the newsletter, because we want to stay connected. And there's a lot of interesting things that happen all throughout the month. And we'd like to be able to send you an email about it. And trust us, we're not sending you 1,000 emails, but it's really, a good way for us to keep in contact. But the newsletter, it's really packed with a lot of different things. We talk, first of all, we always showcase a couple Black businesses. And, that's a way that we can support other Black businesses. So we support Black businesses by showcasing them. We also give a little bit of financial news in there, like some one-on-one things that you can think about, and also do some practical things. We also talk about a financial innovator, somebody from the past that has laid the foundation for us to be where we are right now. We have a health topic that we always discuss. Last month, we talked about getting a physical. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people who don't get physicals, but we talked about why it's important to get a physical and what you should actually ask for when you go in to get a physical. So it's a health tip. And then we also, do a little HAPI update. So it's really important to sign up for the newsletter. Now, the other piece of news is, well, it's not really news. Well, it is news in a way. We want you to make sure that you're supporting all of our videos on our YouTube site. And we have lots of HAPI Talks. So, after you watch this one, you might feel a little bit, want to listen to a little bit more of what Runoko Rashidi's talking about. We got a lot of other videos with him on our YouTube channel. And it's very important that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because you actually get videos before anybody else does. And you get anything that we post up there before anyone else does if you're not subscribed. the other piece, everyone is, knows about the algorithms that go on with social media. So we can post something and you actually may not ever see it because we only are hitting about 10 to 15% of people who follow us. So that's why it's really important to follow us on all different platforms. We're on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Like us on all so that, that way you get, everything, but subscribe to us and follow us. It's very important. That's the currency of today. Speaking of currency, I'll take a deep breath, get myself together here. Now, it is very, very important that when you see people doing the work that you support in any way that you can support. Now, we understand that this is, we're in a pandemic right now and not everyone is working or have access to money. So in that case, it's always very free just to like us and share our videos and do all that stuff. But also, we need money to kind of keep going. And it's very important that if you have the ability to do anything, to donate to our cause, that you do. And let me tell you what you're getting for your donation. Not only do we keep bringing, every week we're bringing these happy talks with all these esteemed elders. I tell you, like this is a university within itself. But you're also, you get the newsletter, but you're also supporting us, and we're supporting other Black businesses. So as a HAPI organization, we donate our money to other organizations such as the Asa Restoration Foundation, which everybody listening to me should be throwing them some coins as well, because Anthony Browder is doing some real work for us. It's very, so we have to support his endeavor. So when you guys are giving money to us, we're actually turning it around and we're keeping it within the Black community, and we are supporting other Black businesses. So it's very important that while you guys are watching this right now, that you just mosey on to that super chat that's in it's like if you're looking at us on YouTube, you can just hit the super chat and donate some money. But also because I know if you guys have seen the HAPI on HAPI video, and I'm saying all you have to do is swipe, 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 I'm a believer of the swipe. So it's if you are not on YouTube and there's, you don't know how to get us money, you can Cash App us. We have a Cash App. There we go. HapIFilm. That's it. It's a swipe. It's a swipe to get into your app. It's a swipe to get to the place where you just want to add some money and swipe and put right there, HapIFilm. It's very important, guys, that we support the work. And the other piece is that, like, this particular event tonight, and I'm calling it an event because and thank you, Donnie Williams. Donnie Williams, you are always coming through. Thank you very much. Thank you, BK Trainer. That's what's up. All right. You know what? This is what I'm talking about. This is happy love right here. The other piece about like tonight is that usually people pay gobs of money to walk into the British Museum with Dr. Runoko Rashidi. He's actually doing this for us so that he can help us to raise money so that we can then raise money for other people. So it's very important that you guys get up in that super chat and write there, HapIFilm. It's easy. It's just a swipe, put in the little numbers, HapIFilm, and there it is. So we want to just make sure that you guys are doing that. And also, a lot of times we get a lot of emails from a lot of different people thanking us for, what we're doing or just sharing with us what they're doing. So always feel free to give us you can just, email us at info.hapifilm.com. Thank you, Donnie, again. You can email us at info.hapifilm@gmail.com so that we can definitely be in the communication. So thank you guys. That's what's up. Okay. Now I'm gonna keep, and all throughout this little time, because usually you guys don't hear this from me, but this particular time I'm gonna keep stopping you guys and saying, hey, we got HapIFilm, $HapIFilm, and we're up in the super chat. So before we get started, I just want to give out, just some little say some of the shout outs. I see King Simon in the house. And it's very important because next week we're going to interview King Simon, and that's going to be really good. He's going to talk about numbers. He has a new book. Like, it's going to be fire. So make sure you guys tune in for King Simon next week. And our elder, I see that he is in the house, John Henry Staples. Everybody has to say hi to John Henry Staples. He's in Riverview, Florida. And Brian, peace, fam, and everyone else that's in the chat. You guys are always coming through. That's what's up. And Tyrone Harris. Yes. Always in there. Okay, so without further ado, we're getting ready to get started and bring in the I want to say almost the Honorable Dr. Rashidi. Okay.
Well, that's not a terrible thing to say. I've been called a lot worse, believe me, than honorable. But they didn't know what they were talking about. So it's delightful to be with you. And I got some good news just a moment ago. My website, I've been having problems, so it's back up.
Oh,
so I'm very pleased about that. Yeah. So
okay, good.
People can go to my website for information. But tonight, we are going to, God willing, do a virtual guided tour of the African collections in the British Museum. It's been almost a year now since I've been able to travel and go to these museums. And so tonight, I'm kind of excited about it. It's always exciting to connect with you, Brother Taki, and the wonderful work you all are doing with the HAPI movement and HAPI Talks. But I love museums. And so this time I'm going to do something a little different. Generally, we've been doing the interviews, which I appreciate because they help promote the Global African Presence webinars at the end of the month. But this time I really wanted to give back more. And I hope that people will donate to HAPI Talks and the HAPI movement. I think sometimes we get a good thing and we kind of take it for granted, but you all are sacrificing your time, your money, and people need to reciprocate. This is not a one-way process. So I really appreciate what you're doing. So tonight we're going to go to London. We're going to go to the British Museum and see what happens. I typically show when I'm doing these interviews with you all about 10 or 12 photographs. Tonight, I'm going to show a little over 100. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Nice. Let's go to the museum. Let's see.
Let's go.
And you see my brother Asa Hilliard?
Okay. Let's see. Okay, there we go.
He's on the screen.
Yep.
I always, when I do, and I'm evolving too when I do my presentations, but these days in particular, I try to bring some real serious, some real good ancestral energy. And tonight, our ancestral guide, our guide from the spirit realm is Dr. Asa Grant Hilliard III, Baba Asa, a wonderful person, a great scholar, but also a good brother. And Asa is almost like a patron saint to me. He left us a few years ago, far too soon. So we're going to call on Baba Asa to guide us tonight and be with us and watch over us and laugh with us and enjoy this presentation. And of course, we're going to dedicate the presentation to Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Dr. Rosalind Jeffries. I saw this, I know it was Dr. J's birthday. Yesterday or the day before. So we're going to dedicate it to the Jeffries. And this is, isn't this a marvelous collage? This is posted to his Facebook page. And I pulled it down. I mean, I absolutely love it. Can you imagine that wedding photograph right there? And then in the center, you have Minkare and his beloved wife, Kamer Ernepti II. I love to see Black men and Black women together. And to me, it's a true inspiration. And then the more recent photograph. So Dr. Jeffries, both Dr. Jeffries, this is dedicated to you. Now we're in London. We're in this, one of the reasons that being in these European cities is important to me is because these were the capitals of colonial empires. And the people in those empires are now in those cities. and the artifacts that were looted and taken out when England and France and Germany were dominant powers are in these museums. And so I love the British Museum. I guess you could, I don't know how that works out, because these are repositories of loot. Museums by their very nature are European. The idea of putting things on display, my things, my conquest, etc., that's purely European. Anyway, the British Museum is interesting. It was founded in 1753, like 270 years ago. It's been around a long time. And the reason it's important to me in particular is because of all the African things they have. They have, according to official accounts, more than 100,000 artifacts from Egypt alone.
What?
Just from Egypt, okay? So I would imagine altogether there must be millions of pieces there. So here we are. We've gone through security. This is the main entrance to the museum on Russell Street. I think it's Great Russell Street. But they tell the tour groups, my groups, to come from the other side, which I believe is called Montague Circle or Montague Square. And I'm going to meet you there. And then we're going to walk through this area right here, the courtyard. It looks very jazzy and it's well lit. And then we're going to come to the other side where the main entrance is. People are going to go through security and we're going to sit and kick it. I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but sometimes people come late to these programs. I know that's astonishing to you. You don't believe it. I'll be sitting down, but it does happen. People get caught up in traffic. They get lost. They forget which entrance. So we give them, I usually start my tours at 10 or 11 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. And we come and we gather around. And what I do here is go over what we're going to see. And I put it in a framework. And the framework, because mostly what we're going to look at tonight is the Nile Valley, are the dynasties. Ooh. A dynasty is a family of rulers. Of course, you know all this. One member of the family coming after the other for an extended period of time. And there are 30 dynasties that are recognized by the ancients, by the ancient African scholar named Manetho, who devised this dynastic system. So I go over the dynasties. I tell people, and I'm telling folk tonight, if you really want to understand Kemet, if you want to have a good organization, the dynastic framework is a good one. Assume that the dynasties are like a file cabinet and you put information. Otherwise, what you have are bits and pieces of information that don't always gel together. So we're going to utilize that as we walk through the museum tonight. Okay. And I've never done this before, so I don't know how it's going to go. That's one of the reasons I wanted to call on our brother Asa to help work with this. We'll see. It could be great. And people might say, Runoko, what were you thinking when you planned this? And why did Felicia let you go along with it? No. You never know. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it's going to go great. Wait, before you get started.
Yes, ma'am.
How many times have you been to this museum?
Oh, I don't know, at least 50, 60 times. Wow. I started going in 1987. I went to India and on my first big trip out of the Western Hemisphere. And then on the way back, I stopped in London for 3 or 4 days. And this was the highlight. So I've been going to the British Museum for over 30 years. And I'm sure I've been there 50, 60 times easily. And in spite of that, one of the first things I'm going to do when I start traveling again, go to the UK and go to the British Museum. Okay. I wish now that I had photographed all of the artifacts. And remember now, they are listed by Wikipedia, that infamous source, as having more than 100,000 Egyptian artifacts, but not all of them are on display. And then sometimes they do special exhibits. So we're going to walk through the museum. We're going to go through the door. I've got anywhere from 20 to 40 people. And with the folk tonight, who knows, maybe hundreds, if not more. And we're going to turn left. And on the way, we're going to the main section. We're going to stop at this bust of Septimius Severus. Now, he don't look like a brother right here, but I assure you he was. He's an African who has been whitewashed in history. Why is he important? Septimius Severus is the most prominent of the African-born emperors of Rome. He is born in Libya in 146, and in 193 he becomes the emperor of the Roman Empire. And he actually founds an African dynasty, Runoko Rashidi says, at the heart of imperial Rome. He dies in York, England in 211. Now, some people say he was born in Africa, but he wasn't an African. We do know that the only painting of him shows him with copper bronze complexion skin. He was a brother.
Oh.
We know that the Romans nicknamed him Hannibal's Revenge. And he never really adapted Latin as his language. He always spoke a North African language. So on the way inside the museum and to the main section, we stop and pay homage to another brother that we don't know a whole lot about from an African perspective. And then we go to the cloakroom.
Oh.
You have a heavy coat. If you have a backpack, a knapsack you don't want to carry in there, you go to the cloakroom, they'll weigh it and give you a ticket. And then about 50 feet beyond that, to the right, we enter a corridor that is focused entirely on Nile Valley civilization. And this is the first piece you see. There are companion statues. This is the great Nebmare Amenhotep III, who is the grandfather of Tutankhamun, and this is Akhenaten's daddy. And this is Queen Ti's or Queen T. This is what you see. And we kind of gather together here. There are two of these, and this is a detail of one of them. We always talk about the missing noses on the statues, but some of them are absolutely perfectly preserved. And this is one of the best. This is from Dynasty 18.
Okay.
Takes us to about 3400 BC. Brother Taki loves dates. About 3400 BC.
I was really about to ask you.
Yeah, 3400 years ago. Sorry about that. 1400 BC, 3400 years ago. And it's beautifully preserved at the height of the 18th dynasty, which is perhaps the most powerful period in ancient Nile Valley history. So here's one, and then here's the other. And here's a fuller one. Just beautiful.
Wow.
We always gather here. He's wearing what's called a Nemes cloth, this light piece of cotton cloth used to protect him from the rays of the sun. Egypt even now probably grows the best cotton in the world. He's got the pharaonic beard. He has the ujat or uraeus in the form of a cobra about to spit poison in the eyes of the enemy. Here he is again. So we're just kind of getting started here now.
Wow.
This is just the beginning. And these statues are very, very heavy. They put really, really heavy pieces at this part of the museum. One more time. And then on the right, just to the right of that, you have an ancient chronology of Kemet. You have what is called a king list. And these would have the cartouches or chenus, the nameplates of all the recognized kings of Kemet who had come before. This is actually during the time of Ramses II. Ramses the Great, about 1290 BC.
Okay.
Here's the detail. You can see the beautiful writing.
Wow, it's still clear.
Yeah, still clear. And then a few of these I have the captions. You can see it for yourself. Monumental lists of past kings express the living ruler's legitimacy. Originally, Ramses was shown on the far right, honoring previous kings, and the god Osiris, still probably visible on the left. The kings are represented by their throne names written in oval cartouches, which we know is a French term. The upper surviving row mentions little-known kings of the 7th and 8th dynasties. These are very obscure periods. The middle rows list those of the 12th, 18th, and 19th dynasties. These are very important dynasties. Rulers considered unimportant or illegitimate, including ruling queens, have been omitted. Tutankhamun's name is not there. Akhenaten's name is not there. Hatshepsut's name is not there because later generations did not regard them as legitimate kings. The names of the Hyksos rulers of Egypt are not there. And here, we're just going through the dynasties now. The organization is a little bit better. The whitish colored piece, the stela on the bottom, is from the Old Kingdom, the Pyramid Age. And then up above that, this is, I think, from the 12th dynasty, and you can just see the beautiful writing. There's at least two forms of African writing, perhaps more than that, in this museum. One is the Meronetta or hieroglyphics, and then the other is Demotic. And there may be some examples of Meroitic too.
Wow. And you know, when you said that the 18th dynasty was like the most powerful dynasty, what made it powerful?
They ruled over much of Inner Africa and Western Asia.
Oh.
You know, they exacted tribute from the neighboring peoples. Mm-hmm. They were just, their power was unchallenged in that part of the world. And this lasted for about 150, 200 years, at least until the time of Akhenaten.
Okay.
In fact, there's an interesting book about it that typifies what I'm saying. The title is When Egypt Ruled the East. And it's by a guy named George Steindorf. And it talks particularly about dynasties 18 and 19. Kemet had been invaded, and they kicked the Hyksos out. Mm-hmm. And this ruling family became very, very powerful. Now, this is from my favorite dynasty. This is from Dynasty 12. And this one family is in power for about 250 years, from 1991 BC to about 1750 BC. And this is one of the most powerful rulers. He's from the family called Senusrit or Sesostris, the Greek version. And again, there's that Nemes cloth. The nose is damaged, but it's still largely intact. And look at those big old ears. I call those Barack Obama ears. The idea was the bigger the ear, the more you could hear. And the more you heard, the more you would know. And the more you knew, the more power you would possess. They said ignorance is evil. Wow. And what do they say in the Western Hemisphere? Ignorance is bliss. Our ancestors should never run from knowledge. We need to run to it and embrace it. And our ancestors in the Valley of the Nile, you know, saw the world with that in mind. Now here, there's a whole series of these. And I got my peeps with me. And again, look at that Nemes cloth and compare it to what these British judges wear. Every now and then I'll insert something like this to keep it real. And then John Henry Clark took it a step further, because you also see African judges, as I understand it, in places like Kenya and Uganda that maintain that British tradition, that English tradition, because they were former colonies. Or they are former colonies. And so they wear a lot of those same. You can see the brothers right there in the red, as a matter of fact. So Dr. Clark said it best. At what point are we going to stop imitating imitators? You're imitating someone who is imitating you. And to me, that's very, very profound. I'll repeat that. At what point are we going to stop imitating imitators? You're imitating someone who is imitating you. Now we're in the 12th dynasty. And this is a powerful king right here. His name is Kakare Senusrit III. He reigned for 38 years. He conquered deep in Africa, and he conquered, according to tradition, as far as the Caucasus Mountains. And he left an African army at the foot of the Caucasus Mountains in what came to be known as Colchis. Colchis is where the Greeks under Jason and the Argonauts went to get the Golden Fleece. And tradition has it, and archaeological evidence as well, that there's been an African presence, a Nile Valley presence there for perhaps 4,000 years. And this is the king who is considered to be a world conqueror and left an African army at the foothills of the Caucasus Mountains. This is polished pink granite. And this is probably my favorite stone, and that's what this is made of. Look at this gigantic fist. You know, these sisters and brothers, these Africans, thought like men and women 1,000 feet high. You know, man, they did everything in such a big way.
Yeah.
And so now it's time to sit down and chill for a minute and listen to what Sister Felicia has to say about the first part of the presentation, while the audience stands around and sees what pearls of wisdom we are going to try to drop. Okay. I love to sit down and talk about this. Now, by this time, we've got so many people that we're moving people out of the way. And I have a tendency, although I'm a relatively mild-mannered man, to get loud and excited, and people start to follow me around. Even people who didn't become part of the tour. That bothers some of my folk. But Europeans and other folk, non-Africans, don't bother me too much as long as they don't get in the way. And as long as they're respectful, I have no problem with that. Because whenever I do one of these tours, and I've done many, all kind of people begin to listen. I think some people really just do want knowledge. And I'm going to give it to you completely unvarnished. All right. So what do you think, sis? How are we doing?
Yeah, everything's great. And I just want to just give a shout out to Child of Ogun for getting in that chat. That's what's up. Thank you for the super chat. I'm loving this. You know, it's, I want to actually go back. I mean, not really go back, but just ask a question as we move forward. Like the statues and like the grandeur, and they're huge. When I was in Kemet, I was in one of the hot air balloons, and even looking down all the way up in the sky, they are huge.
I know it.
Yeah. What and for a long time I kept thinking, I was like, well, maybe the people themselves were huge.
They weren't. Generally speaking, especially during this period of time, the people seem to have been very small. A lot of what we see in Luxor, where you flew over, and a lot of that is dynasties 18 and 19. And a lot of, for example, the king that I showed you, Amenhotep III, Nebmare Amenhotep III, was only about 5'3" tall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm sure sometimes you see these little headrests. They're tiny, and you see their shoes, and they look like they're for they're tiny little people. They were, and during this period at least, they were not big people.
Wow. They thought big, though.
They thought big.
They thought big. All right. Okay.
Now here we are. I'm sitting right in front of this. And this is magnificent. This is polished pink granite. Now, Sheikhan Tejopa in his magnificent book, African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality, identified this as Tutmos III. But most scholars today see him as Amenhotep III. And apparently this was a part of a large temple. There's again the cobra, the ujat, the uraeus. You can see here the beard is broken, but for the most part, the head is intact. He's got a double crown. What we're looking at, what we can see is the red crown, the crown from the north, from Lower Kemet. And then we don't see it here on the top. You have the crown from the south. So merged together, we call him the double crown. And this brother looks like he is at peace. There's a sense of serenity. I think that arm, that fist that I just showed you belongs to this head right here. And then right next to it, did you have a question?
No, I was just in awe.
Now we're going to keep going. We're in the center of the Egyptian section on the first floor. We're going to go through at least the first floor, and God willing, we're going to go through the second too. Now this is Amenhotep I. The reasons I say the dynasties are so important is because you can get this information confused. Amenhotep I is the second ruler of the 18th dynasty. And the art during his period of time doesn't show the refinement that you are to find during the reign of Amenhotep III. Here he is in the Osirian posture. You know that the Chadwick Boseman and the people who did the work on that film, Black Panther, they did some research here. And you can see a lot of people would call it the Wakanda salute. And the beard is curled up. We know he's an ancestor. And the crown is red. That's the crown from the north. And he's got this white linen shroud. And he is the second ruler of the 18th dynasty.
Okay, wait. You're dropping stuff over here thinking we're not an Egyptologist. Not yet. But wait, Dr. Rashidi, when you said that his beard was curled up, so we know he's an ancestor.
Right.
Versus, okay, so when it's not, so they just don't have.
If the beard was straight,
okay,
we know he wouldn't be an ancestor. And again, he's got that white linen shroud. That's another indication. The arms are folded across his chest, and you can't see it very well here, but his feet are bound together. Those are sure signs that he's an ancestor. And so this was probably found in I'm inclined to say not a tomb, but a temple associated with the tomb where the memory of the deceased was perpetuated.
Okay.
All right. Now, this is right next to it. What could this be? Runoko Rashidi asked the audience. This is a fragment of the beard of Haramakhet. This is a fragment of the beard of the Great Sphinx. And this was found in 1817 by an Italian circus strongman named Giovanni Belzoni. So this is actually a part of the beard of the Great Sphinx, which we call Haramakhet. There it is right on display in a glass case. Most people walk right by it, have no idea what they're looking at.
Wow.
And then on the other side of the room, this corridor is about 150 feet long, and it's about 75 feet wide. And there are artifacts in the middle and on each side. This is Thutmose III, the great warrior king of Dynasty 18.
Yes.
The tradition says conquered 105 nations
Yeah.
and led 17 military campaigns in person. There's another short little brother with a big head, bad dude, Thutmose III, great militarist. And then next to that are representations of Sekhmet,
Yes. Yes.
powerful female aspect of God. She is a warrior in a sense. She's got the head of a lioness and the body of a woman. And there are more images of Sekhmet, I think perhaps more than anybody else, with the possible exception of Aset. And these are from the temple of Amenhotep III.
Wow. You know, I can't look at every time I see that, I see Sekhmet or I hear her name, I always think of the late
Dr. Patricia Newton.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, she embodies Sekhmet.
Yeah, she took that name for a reason.
Yes.
And she wore it well.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go a little bit further, and we're going to see this statue of Sinemut holding the daughter of Hatshepsut, whose name is Neferah. We know it's a little child because you can see the scalp lock. And there are many images, well, I won't say many, but at least I would say a dozen similar images scattered in museums around the world. You know, it's amazing that there's anything left in Africa at all.
Yeah.
So much has been taken out of Africa. You say, well, hey, is there anything still there?
Yeah, I don't think anything is. It was much in the Egyptian Museum. I feel like they push everything together. It's really hard to you need a couple of days to go through it. But
Easily.
Yeah.
Now here we're gonna leave Egypt for a minute, and we're gonna make a left and go around the corner, and we're gonna go to the Assyrian section. The Assyrians were the scourge of Kemet during the 7th century, during what is called the 25th or Nubian dynasty. Some people call it the Kushite dynasty. And the Assyrians were based in what is now Iraq. And they fought with the people from the Nile Valley for the supremacy of that part of the world. Eventually, they are to invade the Nile Valley itself with devastating consequences. Now, in the middle ground is Judea. Judea is a kingdom in what is now Israel and Palestine. And around 700 BC, the Assyrians devastated that area. And here you have, what should we call them? Stelas or reliefs, carvings on stone, on the surface of stone. And this is from a palace in Assyria by a king named Sennacherib. And he's watching the destruction of the city and the people of that city paying tribute and surrendering. And let me show you what they look like. There you have them. There you go. Look at that happy to be nappy hair. This is what the people of Judea, of Palestine, of Israel looked like 2,700 years ago. Those are black men there. Nobody has happy to be nappy hair like we do. And there's a whole series of these panels or reliefs in that area. You can read it for yourself. Every now and then I'll pull out one to read. Sennacherib on a magnificent throne watches as prisoners are brought before him and sometimes executed. Sometimes they would skin people alive. They would make pyramids of the heads of their enemies. They would kill the animals. The Assyrians were tough. There's a tent behind him. His chariot is in the foreground and his bodyguard is stationed around. The king's face has been deliberately slashed, perhaps by an enemy soldier at the fall of Nineveh in 612. So that's an important piece. And I always say, come on, y'all, let's leave Kemet for a moment. Let me show you something different. And we're going to keep on going.
Wow.
We're going to stay out of Kemet for a moment, and we're going to walk a little further. We're going to pass the Greek section, or one of the many Greek sections in the museums, and we're going to look at images of African people in Greece itself. Now, from the British Museum alone, I probably have, thousands and thousands of photographs, and I'm going to showcase them in the Return to the Now webinar at the end of this month. So I'm just showing you a few, get you excited. This is an image of an African in Athens, Greece, in 450 BC. And right next to it is an African soldier in the Persian army fighting the Greeks 2,500 years ago. This is called an alabastron, and it's a little bottle. And there's several of these, and they show people are called Ethiopians with nappy blonde hair in military uniforms in the Persian army fighting against the Greeks. The Greek historian Herodotus talked about them. And there are about a dozen of these that I've seen scattered in museums around the world. So we're sitting down again, we're getting everybody together, and you can see by this time, all kind of folk,
Yeah.
some of them are just curious, like, what is this black man talking about?
Yes. So
Yes, ma'am.
before you go on, I want to give a little shout out. We have some people that Cash Apped us some money, but I can't find their names. But I know that you guys Cashed App. I'm going to get it before the end of, before the end of this. But I want to give a shout out to Greg Davis and Hamara Hope for getting that. That's what's up. Like, this is really nice, guys. We can, it's a circle of love. HAPI is a circle of love. Circle. It is. It's just really good. We getting good. We getting some money to do some things. And you're here taking us through this museum. All right, go ahead.
Don't stop now. Now we're going to go back to the Egypt section. We got to backtrack. And on the way is one of my favorite pieces. It's only a few inches high, and it's a bronze vessel of an African girl during what's called the Hellenistic period. The Hellenistic period is the time of Alexander the Greek. And believe me, each one of these artifacts has a story behind it. I wish I could just take the time to tell you the stories behind these pictures. You would be in stitches, and sometimes you'd have to say, Runoko, no more, no more, no more. Now, we're back in the main section. Let's try to finish up the first floor, then we're going to go up to the second floor. This is Tutmosis I in Dynasty 18. And here, it's always crowded around it. This is the famous Rosetta Stone. This stone was carved by the Ptolemies in 196 BCE, before the Christian era. And this is what was used primarily by the Frenchman Champollion the Younger to translate the glyphs into modern language. I think that, in fact, I don't know. One of these is Demotic, an ancient African writing system. Another is Greek, and I think another might be hieratic. I'm not sure. But this is very, very important. Obviously, I'm not a linguist. And you almost have to fight your way through a crowd to get close enough to photograph. Keep on going. Yes, ma'am. What were you going to say?
The Rosetta Stone, what dynasty was that found?
What? Say that again.
The Rosetta Stone, what dynasty was that found? Like, when did
it was found during the Ptolemaic dynasty.
Okay.
The Ptolemaic dynasty is a foreign dynasty of which Cleopatra VII is the last representative. Although by the time Cleopatra comes on the scene, about 50 BC, there was probably some African intermixture there. But it's during the Ptolemaic dynasties. The Ptolemies, in many ways, sought to imitate the Africans in whose land they were living in. Okay. And so you have a lot of documents and a lot of sources that we use are actually Greek, because the Greeks were in the Nile Valley for such a long time. In fact, we can call this the Greco-Roman period. Well, long before that, by the way, the city that the Rosetta Stone was found by the soldiers of Napoleon, by the way, is called Rosetta, but it's also called Rashid. And not many people get a chance to go up there. I've been up there. And right in this very same area, in fact, I saw it on the same day, you can see where the Nile River HAPI empties out into the Mediterranean.
Wow.
And you can see, you can see the differences between the Mediterranean and the HAPI itself. Now, this one takes us to the 19th dynasty. And this is Kamwasit. Kamwasit is not a king. Kamwasit is a son of a king. He is the son of Ramses the Great. And this is a bad brother right here. Ramses lived so long, he outlived most of his children.
Wow.
This brother lived a long time himself, but he would have been the successor of Ramses, but he died before his dad did. Why is this man important? For one thing, he's a magician. But in addition to that, and more important than that, he is the first person that I know of that attempted to restore the monuments of his ancestors. My brother Karak, Tony Browder, would love Kamwasit. Now, just check this out. Now, he comes to us about 1270 BC. Okay. By this time, the pyramids on the Giza Plateau are more than 1,000 years old. So by the time he comes on, the pyramids on the Giza Plateau are more than 1,000 years old. Think of that. The enormity of African civil, thousands of years. And so what he attempted to do is to restore those monuments that have fallen into disrepair. So I love Kamwasit. Wow. Yeah, strong African. And then this is a king you don't hear much about. From Dynasty 20, this is Ramses IV, making offerings to God. And then if you stick your head right out the door on the other side, on the right side, you see this magnificent head, another one. Wow. Hotep III. And then on the other side, we're almost finished with the first floor. And then you can tell me if we have time to do the second floor. This is a Libyan king from Dynasty 20, 21, 22. And this African queen, a sister named Cairo Mama. And then on the other side, going back and forth across the museum, is what is called the Shabaka stone. The Shabaka stone, carved as a commission by King Shabaka, a Nubian king, a Napatan king of what is called the 25th dynasty of Kemet, had this creation story called the Memphite theology carved in stone. Up to that point, it was all torn and tattered. And he had it carved on this stone. So this is called the Shabaka stone, or the Shabaka stela. It's an ancient creation story. And now I'm catching up. We're in the 25th dynasty. This is a statue of the great, powerful king Taharka, surrounded by this ram, Amen. And I really try to make my presentations and my museum tours family friendly, and especially child friendly. That's my hope. The children. You know what Frederick Douglass said? It's easier to build a child than repair a broken adult. And I think that if we can catch them while they're young, we have a chance. Absolutely. And this is, I think, the last piece from the first floor. This is neck to navel, the first or second. Why is he important? Because he's the last recognized king of Kemet. He takes us to the end of the 30th dynasty, and look at that damage, and you can see this explanation. This was part of a statue placed in a temple. No inscription survives to identify the king, but stylistic details point to neck to navel, the first or second, the principal kings of Kemet's last native dynasty. The king's nose and protective cobra on his forehead were destroyed to curse him. Perhaps this vengeful act occurred when Egypt, after 60 years of independence, was reconquered by the Persians, which is another dynasty, a 31st dynasty. A new nose and cobra were later fitted into prepared slots. This may have happened soon after Alexander the Great had conquered the Persian Empire under the early Ptolemies. To bolster their title to Egypt's throne, they restored, renewed, and imitated the monuments of their native predecessors. Now that's very profound. So again, I'm doing this because out of love for HAPI Talks and the HAPI movement, you all have been so supportive of me. And I do hope that you all will contribute towards them. This sister, this brother, they're really working hard and they're sacrificing. And also to promote my upcoming webinar, which is Return to the Nile Valley with Runoko Rashidi. If you like what I'm doing tonight, you're going to love what I do then. So, sister, that's the first part. Do we have time for the second part or part of the second part?
Yes, we do. Right. And let me just take a quick just break for just a second. You guys, you can get a hold of Dr. Runoko, just if you want to chat, email, talk, but you can go to runoko@hotmail.com. These webinars that he does at the end of the month are so, oh my God, it's literally like you look up, like right now, I look up, it's already been an hour. It's like the time, it just flies by. And the pictures are beautiful. Each one, you're like, oh my God. But it's the stories like he's telling you. It's the stories that's behind it that really makes it fire. It's so definitely you want to check him out. And Nile Valley, this is good. You're going to be doing a couple, like you're breaking it up in three different
three different months.
Okay.
And my goal is to show 1,200 original photographs from the museums and the temples, and also promote my upcoming tour to Kemet August 1st. Have we really been doing this for an hour already? Is it that late?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You are always fine when you come here.
All right. Well,
yep.
Say something else and let's run and try. I'll try to show some more. I may not be able to finish everything, but I'll at least try to show a bit more. I didn't know I've been talking that long. My God.
Yeah, I know. You've been having fun. All right, keep going.
All right. Now we're going to go upstairs. Some of y'all can walk up the stairs, and other people like me, I want the elevator, okay? Sometimes the elevator is not working or it's crowded, but if possible, I'm going upstairs. And when you go upstairs, and I'll go through these quickly, the first thing you see are these carvings from the tomb of Nebamun and Ipuki. These were two artisans who lived during the time of Amenhotep III. And what somebody has done is literally carved from the tomb, these magnificent reliefs. Look at these. And this is Nebamun himself with his family. Look at this. I use this in a lot of my presentations. It's so magnificent. Look at the hair.
The braids.
The braids. And then these wax cones, they will put perfume or fragrant oil in the cone, and when they begin to perspire, it would melt into their hair.
Oh.
So this is a banquet scene in the tomb. And then we're going to back up a little bit, and we're going to go to a section where we see the Nile Valley influence, the Happy Valley influence on Western Asia. And you see the statue or the bust of Ramses the Great. And there I am next to it. And these are what I call the Nimrud ivories. And these are carvings made of ivory found in Iraq, a place called Nimrud, and they show also a Nile Valley influence. Look at this piece right here. You can even see an ankh down there at the bottom. And here's another one. Ooh. A lioness mauling an African youth. And then we're going to go a little further down this hall. What are we looking at here? We're looking at the sack of either Memphis or Waset, Thebes, Luxor, by the Assyrians. This is a sad day in African history. Africa was invaded, and the Nile Valley is desecrated. And here you can see our ancestors being led into captivity. Oh. If you walk a little bit further, you see something from another part of the world, and this is Iran. And these soldiers are called the Immortals, and these were Africans who were the bodyguards of the Persian emperors 2,500 years ago. And then we're going to go back a little further, and we're going to look at Kush. These are Kushites or Nubians paying tribute to one of the 18th dynasty kings, I think Tutankhamun. And then we see the images of the Nubians themselves. This is a statue of Amenhotep, one of the most powerful women that ever lived. She would be comparable to Hatshepsut or Queen Tai. Her name is Amenhotep I. She comes to us 2,700 years ago. And there I am excited pointing to her. And then you have these ankhs, the key of life in this section. And right next to it, images of this magnificent Sphinx of Taharqa himself, the greatest ruler of that time. And then these shawaptis that were placed in the tombs. Look at how serious these brothers are. These are African kings. And this is the interior of a chapel of a Kandaka. The Kandakas were the queen mothers of Meroe. And this was, and here she is. And these were not little bitty sisters. These sisters took up space. They were powerful women. And here's what they say. Raised from the interior of a funerary tomb of Meroe, the queen from Pyramid North 11 at Meroe. From the early 3rd century BC until the 4th century, the majority of Meroe rulers were buried beneath pyramids close to the city of Meroe. And I tell you, sis, it's beautiful. On several occasions, the kingdom was ruled by a queen whose title was Kandaka. And they were the queen mothers. Now we're going to go back quick. I'm rushing now. And this is from the 1st dynasty. We're back in Kemet. This is more than 5,000 years ago. This is a king named Den, D-E-N. And this is something that you see from the beginning of the dynasties, an African king with a mace about to punch out the enemies of Africa. And then this one from the 2nd intermediate period. This is during the time when they were fighting to put the Hyksos out. And then you got one European here. This is Augustus Caesar. Why would he be here? Because the Egyptians, the Romans conquered deep in Egypt, and they were planning on conquering into Nubia. The Nubians said, no, we're going to conquer you. And so led by one of these Kandakas, they defeated a Roman garrison in southern Egypt and took this head back as a trophy. And this is what they did with it. They put the head, we'll just read it. The Roman writer Strabo tells us that the Cushites invaded southern Egypt and carried out treasure, including statues of Augustus. A Roman force was sent to retrieve them, but this head escaped them because it had been ritually buried in front of a temple. In this way, visitors to the temple would step on the emperor's head, a sign of extreme disrespect. And when you go to Nubia and you go to this temple, the guys just crack up laughing when they tell you that story that when you walked in and out of the temple, you had to step on this man's head. Now we're in another section of the museum. I'm going quick. This is a rare piece. This is 2 coins. You see the elephant and you see the black man on the other side. This is what people say is what Hannibal looked like. Some people have identified this as Hannibal, the man who challenged the might of ancient Rome. A little bitty coin, smaller than the size of a penny. And you see here an image of an acrobat, a Nubian acrobat balancing himself on top of a crocodile in ancient Rome. This is from the Etruscan civilization, an image of a black youth. And here's another image of an African grappling with a crocodile. This is from the Roman world. 2 African boxers in ancient Rome. One, the younger one, is giving the elder an uppercut. There I am looking at it. And then we have a little time left. We went outside and we went to another section and we see an image of an African in ancient China during the Tang Dynasty. And we kept on going and we went to another section of African art. And these are the famous Benin bronzes that were pilfered by the British, I think in 1891. And there they are on display. And there's the Queen Mother, the Ayoba, known as Adiya. This had to be a bad, bad sister. She exerted tremendous influence. And then everybody's happy. We're sitting around and we're taking a picture and they're saying, Baba Runoko, we love you, you're great. And that's why we're making contributions to the HAPI movement, and you're going to be a part of my webinar.
This is when they're sliding.
I love the children. I mean, when I reach the children, I feel like I've done good. And I worked up a sweat. I'm tired. I'm chilling. And then if we have time, we go outside and kick it around and talk about what we meant, and we answer questions. And of course, I promote my book on Egypt, which you can go to my website and look for, Uncovering the African Past, Sahib and Van Sertima papers. Do not forget the webinar at the end of the month. This is supposed to remind you to go to my webinar. To go to the website and get information on my tour to Kemet this year. And there's my daughter, who I took in 2016. And we may even connect it at some point with Sudan. And there's the information about the webinar. And that's it. Sister.
That's it. Wow. Okay, everybody, listen. Wow, that's just like a little taste. That was great.
Yeah, I'm trying to get out of this stop sharing mode here.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, here we are. We're good. How was it?
Yeah, it was excellent. Excellent. I had to, that's one of the museums I haven't been to.
It's a great museum.
Yeah, I definitely got to get there. So everyone, there you go, right there. You can just go to Eventbrite and just type in Runoko. You can go to his website. Just type in Runoko. He's the only Runoko doing anything on Eventbrite. And get Yes, because your webinar series is great. And I'm telling you, just look up and it's already been an hour. Wow. Let me see. Do you have time for just a couple of little questions?
Sister, I'm with you. Whatever you want to do, I'm good.
Okay, yeah. So if anyone has any questions, just put them in. Okay, and and also I just want to thank again, Child of Ogun and Greg. I mean, they keep on donating. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, I see somebody said DM is like mic drop. Excellent. Yeah, you're no joke with this. I know there was. I thought I saw a question about Hannibal, but I can't find it. So if you have any questions for Dr. Runoko Rashidi, just put them in the chat box. And yes, Brian, I see Brian at your seminars. He's like, yeah, those webinars are the bomb. We have a good time. Yeah. So just a question that doesn't have anything to do with anything other than how is the weather on the West Coast? How you doing on the West? Because last time it was like freezing here, and you're like, oh, it's 80. So how's it going?
It's only 75 today.
Oh,
that's all.
Oh, a little chilly.
No clouds in the sky. You can see I had to close my door because the sun was so bright, and now I'm working up a sweat. So I know y'all feel sorry for me, but somebody's got to hold up the fort in the western part of the country. Yeah, the weather's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Going through these museums, it arouses a lot of feelings. On the one hand, you're elated to see these images of our ancestors, but at the same time, there's a level of resentment that these pieces have been taken out of Africa. There are efforts to retrieve a lot of these pieces, but let's suppose the pieces that were taken directly from the Nile Valley, where would they go to? Can we say that the government of Egypt today is any more pro-African, if you really want to be honest, than the European governments? Now, Europeans, the people who own these museums, say this is the cultural heritage of the world. And many times we will be angry and we'll say they took our stuff, they stole our stuff. But we also have to ask ourselves, how do we let them do it? And how do we get it back? What is our responsibility? Okay, so these are all the kinds of emotions that go through your head when you're going through one of these museums and looking at these artifacts. I wanted to share that.
Yeah, you know what? When I was in the Egyptian museum, I was actually getting really upset because I felt like everything was just kind of sitting out, and I felt like there was no respect given to these pieces that are thousands of years old, and that anyone can pick them up, touch them, and but you do raise a good. It's not like I have any place to put them, but I just, but I was just like, I was like, oh, they're just.
No, don't even think like that. We don't want to have to get a GoFundMe page to get you out of Egypt, okay?
Yeah, absolutely not.
Now, one of the things that's happening in Egypt, though, is there's a transition from the old museum to the new museum.
Yeah.
Now, I'm hoping that the new museum will open up in a few months because God knows what they have. If people are impressed by the British Museum, imagine what it would be like for a person who hasn't been there before to go to the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
It's supposed to be bigger than the one in Paris, the Louvre, and the British Museum. That's why I saw the inside of it. It looks gorgeous from the outside.
It will be the greatest Egyptian collection in the world. It already is.
Yeah.
But when I go, I plan to spend maybe 5 or 6 days, perhaps a week, just focusing on that museum itself. All right.
Yeah. So here was a question. Okay. Have you ever heard of Africans creating the S turn in the Nile?
What is the S turn?
I don't know. Our heavy has to follow it up and let us know what the S turn is. I've never heard of that.
Maybe that's the bend of the Nile. I'm not sure. I'd like to be clear before I try to answer it.
Okay. Oh, wait, that's a really good question. So have you ever gained entrance? This is Hamara. She wanted to know if you ever gained access to the museum basement.
Of the Egyptian Museum?
Well, no, of the British Museum or the Egyptian Museum.
No.
No.
Amara Holt is one of the best people I know in the world. She's just a wonderful sister. And she's traveled with me to Egypt and also to Mexico. She reminds me of yourself. Just a really wonderful person, beautiful, brilliant, hardworking, and dedicated to our people. So Hamara, a shout out to you, my sister. But no, I haven't gotten down in those basements yet.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's what's up. Has he worked with Anthony Browder before?
Well, Anthony Browder and I are like brothers. You know, I consider Anthony my Karak, my big brother. And I think he feels the same way about me. We support each other on every level. We are not competitors. We are truly brothers. We are proud of each other. We support each other. We believe in each other. And we think that both of us are doing important things in our own way. See, everybody's not going to do the same thing, but everybody can do something. Yeah. And all of those things are important. And so, yeah, Tony Browder's, he the guy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we have talk about it for everybody. So we have a little treat coming for everybody. So just stay tuned. Make sure
let me make one other comment.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Browder is a good brother, but nobody can do this work by themselves. He's accompanied by a whole team. He's got Sister Atlantis, who likes to say, the more you love your history, the more you love yourself. And he's accompanied by another brother who I adore named Darren McKnight, hardworking, brilliant brother. And so what we're trying to emphasize is that we hear the names of these folk, but it's a collective. And we need everybody to get involved. If you believe in this, don't just sit by and allow other people to make the work and sacrifices. Support us. Buy the books, do the webinars, attend the classes, make a contribution to HAPI Talks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because sometimes you may not want to do the work. It's easier for you to swipe and send some money, and that's cool too. You know,
yeah, I'm for swiping. Swiping works with me. Swipe away. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Rashidi. I'm just gonna have some little closing remarks. I mean, you're more than welcome to stay up here with me while I make my little closing remarks, or you can hang out, or you can do whatever you want to. You done bless us with beautiful pictures. Oh my God.
No, let me just thank you for the wonderful work that you do. I cannot show enough appreciation. Same thing for Brother Taki. You make me proud to be an African. So thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing you at the webinar at the end of the month.
Yep, I will be there with my kids. I got some new ones. I got girls this time. I always bring boys, but I got some girls too. So we're really excited.
Sounds good. Good night, sister.
Thank you. Thank you. Peace. All right, guys. So listen, we have a screening at the end of the month. And I forgot to show you guys, we have new merchandise. So check this one out. This is our HAPI compass shirt. Look at that. It's beautiful. We're gonna talk more about that compass shirt because it's really important when you start looking at the symbols on there. Please, please, please get your ticket. February 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is our screening, and is followed by a panel discussion at 9:30 with HAPI cast members. Also, guys, we have, it's very important for you to sign up for the newsletter so that you can check out all the stuff that's going on. You get a financial, some financial article, a health article, economic innovators. We always showcase a Black business, so it's really important to sign up for the newsletter so that you always get, we always have like a little something going on. So it's important if you signed up, then you're right there. And thank you, Carol. Thank you for contributing. That's what's up. You guys don't understand. This money that you guys give us, we put it right back into the Black community. So it's all HAPI love. I want to thank everybody for contributing anything that they could. And, and if you don't have anything to contribute, because we understand pandemic times, this is what you can do. Please like this video. Okay, we have a lot of people in the chat. Like the video. You guys have got to like the video and send it to somebody. Once I end the broadcast, it's still on our YouTube page, so you can forward this thing to everybody, okay? So that everyone can get this information. And you can also subscribe to us. Make sure you subscribe to us not only on our YouTube page, but our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have maybe 4,000 people on Facebook. We put up pictures and stuff like that. It's like 5 people will respond. So we need for you guys to like these videos and like the memes that we put up. It's really important. It goes a long way with helping us to be able to keep bringing, these types of, this type of programming on. So I just want to give a little shout out to everyone I saw in the chat. There's Series B. I saw Hunter Adams. We love Hunter Adams. And if you actually go to our YouTube page, you can check out Hunter Adams along with Asar Imhotep and Dr. Rosalind Jeffries. They gave an excellent talk about the Dojan a couple of months ago. So you can check that out. So I'm going to remind everybody, February 13th, get your tickets. That you got to be in the house. And again, I want to thank everybody. And and Alice asked a question, Alice Campbell. Yes, so you just go onto hapifilm.com when you're getting your tickets. You can also, there's a tab up there that says Get Connected. Hit that tab, put your little information in, and you'll be signed up for the newsletter. So we want to thank everybody. Thank you. Peace. Just really have a good evening.
I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?